What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we've got a pretty cool knife to take a look at. This is the Monterey Bay Knives EZC. This is a Ray Laconico design, as many of you I think will recognize by the look, and probably because you're already familiar with this knife. Really interesting knife. Want to say first off, this knife was provided directly by the manufacturer, which actually in this case is Monterey Bay Knives, and it's actually made by Kaiser, so I appreciate that. As always, I will try not to let that affect my review. Once this review is done, it will be shipped on to the next reviewer. Anyways, let's go ahead and get some measurements here real quick. Let me turn this thing straight. Overall length on this guy, this is not a large knife, coming in at about 6 3/4 inches overall. Let's move it back and get a measurement on the blade. Blade length on this little fellow. Overall blade length just shy of 3 inches, probably 2.8 inches. The cutting edge is going to be about 2.75 inches on the cutting edge. You can see there. Sorry, I had to make sure. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons here real quick. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about the Paramilitary 2? PM2 coming in at about 8.3 inches overall. How about the Benchmade Griptilian? Benchmade Griptilian coming in at about 8 inches overall. And how about the Spyderco Delica? Spyderco Delica coming in at about 7 inches overall. So we're close to Delica territory, a little bit smaller. You know, the knife that it really made me think of that I own is the Lion Steel TRE. You can see there the TRE is very similar. Excuse me, the TRE titanium is very similar in overall length and silhouette. My wife got me that one at the top, and I really like the Lion Steel TRE. And there are a lot of things that I really like about the EZC as well. So we'll go ahead and get into that here in a second. Let's go ahead and weigh this guy real quick. Get my scale out. Make sure that we are zeroed out. 3.3 ounces. Let's go again. 3.3 ounces. So this is right about 3 ounces. A lot of you might have been expecting a lighter weight, and especially after I compared it with the TRE, which some of you know weighs under 2 ounces. There is no milling on the inside of these titanium scales, which, you know, a knife of this size, between like 1 ounce and 3 ounce, I don't really care. You know, part of me likes that it's lightweight. Like this one, you know, is definitely lighter, the TRE, but it's got milling on the inside. This one isn't. Sorry, left-handed flip there. But it doesn't really take away from it. So, I mean, you know, I would say if weight is extremely important to you, I mean, even those of you out there who, like, you know, consider weight above all things, we're looking at 3 ounces. It's really light overall, and it's got a very satisfying solidity to it. So just wanted to point that out. Let's go ahead and do the paper cut test here real quick. As always, the paper cut test is not a definitive cutting test. It's simply designed to give you an example of the edge right out of the box versus the PM2, which seems to be the universal standard of sliciness. So I'm going to go ahead and take a pass with the PM2, and then I'll take a pass with this knife, and then I'll tell you kind of how I feel in comparison. So go ahead and do the PM2 first. If I can get underneath that paper. I always have trouble with that. PM2, slicey as ever. How about the EZC? So more resistance there than I would have thought. It's quite a bit thicker behind the edge than I was expecting. Let's take a look here at the spines. You can see that the PM2 is actually thicker. Now the PM2 has a longer, you know, way to go, you know, towards the cutting edge. But this is definitely the factory edge, and it's kind of thick behind the edge. Truthfully, it felt about 50 to 60% of the ease of the PM2. I'll let you guys take a look at how the paper did, you know, right behind the edge of the EZC. You can see it's a little bit of a toothy cut. Make a quick pass of the PM2 so you can compare there. PM2 is very fine. EZC is a little bit toothy there on the paper, so it's catching a little bit more tear than cut, but still cutting. As far as whether or not it's a capable everyday carry cutter, yes, absolutely. 50 to 60% is not something that anybody should really be too concerned with. It's just kind of surprising. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on here. So Monterey Bay Knives is, you know, who's making this knife. Not a knife brand that I am familiar with. I think they only have 2 models out right now. I don't know. I can't remember what the other one is. You can still buy this one. I think they start at about $180. You are getting CPM S35 VN steel, which, does it say? If it does say somewhere, I'm not sure, but I know that it is CPM S35 VN steel. You're also getting 6AL4V titanium. You are getting a knife that runs on bearings with an internal stop pin. You're also getting a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop. And I believe that the pocket clip is also 3D milled titanium. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. So you are getting some really nice really nice materials. Just, you know, this is not a knife that's made in the United States. It's made by Kaiser, though it does appear to be made extremely well, which we'll go into. I just wanted to kind of let everybody know where we're at with this knife there. But I'm not familiar with Monterey Bay Knives, and actually, this is the first time I've ever handled a Kaiser as well. So that's interesting, but that's probably all the further I'm going to go into that. Let's talk about the anatomy of the knife here. We have a drop point blade that is really, it's a completely flat ground blade all the way up there to the top, which again is kind of why I was so surprised that it didn't slice as well as I thought it would. But again, let me emphasize, it still cuts plenty well for an everyday carry knife, so don't let that discourage you. Blade stock thickness looks to be pretty similar to the Benchmade Griptilian. Yeah, exactly the same. So 0.11, 0.12, something like that. I think it's 0.11 or 11 thousandths. But you do have a very functional blade shape in terms of, you know, just a design that's meant for a lot of different light to medium duty tasks, you know, cutting into packages, breaking down cardboard boxes, just, you know, generic slicing tasks. I mean, that's a good all-around blade shape, and one that is also visually appealing. You can see not only just for the shape of the blade, the way it's ground, and the slightly reflective stonewash finish that we're getting there, that it's a light stonewash and a fine-grained stonewash, so those little scratches and things are pretty evenly distributed. There's no standout large marks or anything like that. It's just really nice. You can see there on the other side that Monterey Bay Knives logo there, which I actually kind of like. It kind of looks like graffiti, but I kind of like it. Moving down onto the handle, we have one of the simplest designs. All the way around this knife is one of the simplest aesthetic designs I've ever seen. Very simple Torx head pivot, very simple oval-shaped handle that's been nicely chamfered all the way around, so very smooth. You've got a single fuller down the center of the blade, which I don't know if it really serves any ergonomic purpose, maybe a little bit while you're holding on to it. Nah, kinda. Your fingers kind of fall in there. I think more so it's just aesthetics. It looks nice. Everybody that I've handed this to, both knife guys or knife people and non-knife people, have said this looks like a suit knife, or I heard like this looks like a knife James Bond would carry. It looks like something extremely simple that was designed with no pomp, frill, or flash. Just, it is a knife. It is designed to be low profile, discreet, and utilitarian, and I think that's probably what they were going for, and I think that's exactly what they accomplished here. And I have to say, aesthetically, I love this knife. Like I said, I love the line steel my wife gave me, and I would call it also a simple knife, but it's got a lot more visually going on than the EZC, and I like each for different reasons, but I do appreciate the minimalist design of the EZC, absolutely. Anyways, moving on here, I'm sure the way I cut that, the line steel just teleported out of frame. I just realized I moved it before I started the camera back up. Anyways, moving on here, we've got 2 body screws, a lanyard hole that's it's gonna be a little tight, but you can definitely fit 550 paracord in there. A nice, what I assume is a titanium backspacer, really simple, sits just below, just barely below. I mean, actually, it's flush, it just looks like slightly below the frames. It's not on accident or anything. It definitely looks and feels nice, and it's even all the way around. No standoffs, anything. Like I said, it is full titanium. There's no milling or anything on the inside there. The back side of the knife mirrors the front side, except there's a pocket clip and of course the frame lock here. Frame lock does have the steel lock bar insert. You can see right there. Pocket clip looks really nice. It is a pretty thick pocket clip, but it does the job. And I imagine would be really easy to take off there. Now, this looks to be a right-handed tip up only carry knife. So lefties or fans of tip down, you're going to be out of luck here. Flipping action, the detent is great. I mean, it's actually spectacular considering how light and small the blade is. Your flipping action, you need no wrist, and you can pretty much get that blade to deploy every single time, whether you push button it or light switch it, it just wants to go. I found that the only situation where I have a misfire is if I'm going with my left hand and I'm not sure if I want to do a wrist flick or push down on it. I'm just not quite ready, and that's what happens. But this nub back here gets caught on my finger and it slows it down. With my dominant right hand, flipping it is not a problem. Flipper tab is very, very comfortable. Detent is great, so you've got lots of lots of kinetic energy build up there for the flip. Feels really nice. We do have a perfectly centered blade. We also have early solid lockup. It's locking up at about 40 to 50% on the tang of the blade, but still early considering how thin the lock bar, or I'm sorry, the blade stock is. I guess make of that what you will. Very, very solid. No up, down, left, or right wiggle, which is awesome. Again, this is a very small knife. We have an internal stop pin in there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's actually, yeah, it's really, really hard to see, but there is, of course, a stop pin in there. No lock stick whatsoever. Just nice. I mean, it's very, very simple, but it does exactly what it's designed to do. If there's a downside to this design, this is going to be quick, guys, because there's not a lot of bad things to say about this. If there's a bad thing to say about it, there's no jimping, there's no, there's no real curvature to the handle whatsoever. So this might be kind of a difficult knife to hang on to. It's small, so if you've got medium to large size hands, getting it out of your pocket and deploying it, I can see somebody dropping this. I mean, honestly, this feels like a pretty easy knife to drop. Though, when you've got it in hand, it wants to be between 3 and 4 fingers. You can get all 4 fingers around it. It does feel secure once I've got it in hand, but I feel like this is a knife where I'll make more cuts like this, or, maybe like this. I'm not going to do much like hammer grip cutting, so to me, it feels like a knife that would be easy to drop. And I don't know, I mean, there are other knives that I own and have carried that are like that, but the visual appeal to this knife, for me at least, is kind of worth that risk. And if you drop it, oh well, if you're really planning on using this knife, then it's going to get marks and stuff on it anyway. And it's stonewashed. The titanium is, it's more it's not really blasted. I mean, it's got kind of a matte stonewashed finish. It's going to get marks and things on it, but that's okay. I mean, this is a great user, both in size, design, and the price. The price is pretty good on it. 180 bucks. Made in China. Very good tolerances. Very good action. Very good materials. S35 yen. At 150 or 160 bucks, it would have blown me away. At 180 bucks, if it were 20 CV or M390, it would have blown me away. I think it's a fair price. I don't think it's the best price in the world, but we're in that gray area where you're going to have a lot of people disagree. There's going to be a lot of people who look at this and go, 180 bucks, no way. As is the case with all knives. You're going to have a lot of people look at it and go, meh, and you have some people go, absolutely, no problem, I can easily justify that price. This is kind of a gray area. For me, this is an easy one. Like I said, there's no jimping, there's no real easy way to hang on to it. The edge is not the most impressive thing in the entire world, but a lot of us can, I'm not a professional sharpener, but a lot of you guys out there are professional sharpeners and can put your own edge on this. And considering the design of the blade, if you really wanted to make this a slicing machine, you probably could do it, or at least better than it is right now. Maybe the one that you got, if you own this knife, maybe it came better than the one that I got. I don't know. I would say it's adequate for doing EDC tasks. I don't have a problem with that. So just how the edge came out of box for me, and the fact that there's no real traction or easy way to hang on to this knife are really the only two negatives that I can say. Everything else, fit and finish, all that stuff, it's excellent. This is an excellent knife. I can absolutely recommend it. Really happy that I got an opportunity to check it out. I think this is just a really, really cool knife. And I don't think it's going to scare a lot of people. You know, it's not a huge knife. It's a knife that you can justify carrying in the office or to a special occasion or formal event, and it just looks like a simple pocket knife. And, you know, unfortunately, there's only one way to deploy it, which is the scary way. But it's not a big enough or scary enough knife for anybody to really have an issue with it. If that's the type of knife you're looking for, you know, classify this as light EDC, formal knife, gentleman's knife. Really, really well done, very classy in a minimalist way, and it's nice looking, whether you're a knife person or not. I had a lot of people that I handed this to that were not knife people because I wanted to say, what do you think of this? And they said, this is really nice. It's very nice and very simple. They're like, a lot of the stuff that you show me is kind of crazy and over the top. You know, I've handed people at work Medfords before, and they're like, what the heck is this folding hatchet? You know, I'm talking about the Praetorian, obviously, but this was one that almost everybody universally accepted as just a nice cutting tool. I didn't tell them the price. Most people that are not knife people really cringe when they hear prices, but this is a nice, you know, gentlemanly piece to look at and hold and use, and it's those are the elements that are accentuated to me in this knife. So really, really like it. It's absolutely going to go on my playlist of most recommended knives that I've ever handled. So please check that playlist out if you haven't. But that's going to be pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other videos, I do, of course, have lots of knives that I do or don't like that are expensive or inexpensive. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.